order filled.
What's good, everyone? So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the 4 trades I taken this week. Overall, just giving you guys some more insight in regards to how I view the market in regards to a weekly power 3 and just power 3 in general, in line with our hard time frame market maker buy model. This week, I've taken 4 trades, 2 of which were a win, 1 was a loss, and 1 was a break even. The initial win that I've taken this week was from high week. I initially top ticked high week, followed by a bottom tick of low week. These are not actual bottom and top ticks. These are simply me entering off 1 minute CISDs. Now, for the sake of proof of for same account, as you guys can see, all executions I take, I don't just spam evaluations. I don't just spam demo paper accounts. I take the exact same trades with the exact same logic on the exact same account. As we can see, these are on the exact same account. My fill at 23141. As we can see, the position that unfortunately had hit TP1, as we can see back here, had hit TP1, 23141, had ultimately been stopped in profit back here. We'll go down on the 1 minute time frame and quickly look over that. As we can see, I had initially entered off of the 1 minute CISD back here, had hit TP1, EQ'd range, and then I let that for high week, which ultimately had hit my trailed stop loss. Very unfortunate. Never going to trail my stop loss ever again. It's not part of my system, but I had simply done it because I was swing trading and wanted to just cover risk. As we can see, it is playing out as we speak, and unfortunate. After that, after getting stopped in profit, I was thinking price is going to continue down to pre-say low before expanding higher. Due to that, I had taken a short position, stopped on that, taken another short position, put that, and that was a break-even trade. And unfortunate, had I never been stopped in profit, I would have just left my position as it was, leaving it until high week, the all-time high, and I would have been fine. Would have been fine, is what it is. Now, just going to show you guys a trade recording for these trades. Following the trade recordings, we're going to be breaking down in depth. The actual in-depth, that's going to help you guys a ton. It's going to take a little bit, about 20 minutes, but there's a lot of value and a lot of information that you guys can take out of it in regards to how I view the market, in terms of a market maker buy model, overall market maker models, and how I read our weekly power 3. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys after that.
This is the end. Hold your breath and count to 10. Feel the earth move and then hear my heart burst again. For this is the end. I've drowned and dreamt this moment, so overdue I owe them. Swept away, I'm stolen. Let the sky fall and it crumbles.
right, to go over the first trade, why did I take shorts specifically where I did at all-time highs? Why did I take it? Well, what I do going in every single trade is first identify, in fact, before then, going in every single week, we first identify what our higher time frame market maker model is. We understand here the price is within a clear higher time frame market maker buy model. Now, going into every single given weekly power 3, we know that we want to see a classic open low high close, a classic bullish weekly power 3. But as we can see within this given weekly power 3, which had opened up right here as I'll mark out on every single indice, we can see very clearly that there is no SMT whatsoever attached to the low of week. So what does that mean? Well, that means that is not valid manipulation. That manipulation, even if it was, stronger manipulation, the fact that there's no SMT attached to that, that then invalidates this entire expansion higher, because as we know, SMT is what gives us strong moves. It's attached to every single move that we get. No SMT, no trade. No SMT, no validation for higher prices in this scenario. No bullish SMT, no significant low ran out, no longs can be validated. Due to that, in the sense of a weekly power 3, we know that even if price is going to expand later this week, or just any time this week in general, we know that at least one index at this point needs to seek out our low week before we can even anticipate higher prices and for price to continue past our all-time highs. Now, even forgetting that, even specifically, we're not even looking at that. That just feeds us a higher time frame narrative. When we're more zoomed in on lower time frame narrative, we can see very clearly that our range on this day, on Monday, had given us a completely unbalanced range. We had no significant retracement, no attempt at rebalancing, so we understand that short term, the exact same mindset that we had on the more higher time frame, the mindset of lower before higher, that's the exact same mindset that we can have on a more lower time frame, a more zoomed in picture, such as what we have here. Unbalanced range below, clear unmitigated 15-minute busy / liquidity void, or whatever you want to label that as, within this count of the range, giving us a clear drawn liquidity. Now, what would then validate shorts? Well, that's of course going to be SMT. There's no SMT at the low of the week. However, what do we see at the high of the week instead? This is what confirms this to be the initial weekly manipulation. Do I think later that we're going to manipulate lower to expand higher later in the week? Yes. But for our initial manipulation for early on in the week, we can classify this as manipulation. What confirms the end of the manipulation? Well, what do we see here? We have SMT with the previous day high, the Friday high. That's also the previous week high. So that alone gives us two-stage SMT, which is pretty significant. And that can be classified as our higher time frame SMT, such as what I talked about in the SMT video that I posted. This can act as our higher time frame SMT. Now, great, we have higher time frame SMT. What do we need next? Well, we need some sort of lower time frame SMT to confirm a lower time frame CISD. And what do we see when we zoom in just a bit more? Well, we can see very clearly that we have then SMT with the highs, as you can see here. ES fails to run out the AM session highs during PM session. Same exact thing on NQ. However, you look over at I look over at YM here. Well, we see very clearly that YM does in fact run out the AM session highs, giving us clear SMT, clear lower time frame SMT to then validate shorts. Now, specifically when we zoom in, what specifically validated shorts where it did? Well, again, we can then classify it. So we had higher time frame SMT. We had SMT the previous day high, SMT the previous week high. Then we have an even lower time frame SMT, which was SMT between the AM session and PM session high. Now, what confirms that SMT? What confirms that AM session and PM session high? It's a lower time frame SMT, but it's not as a lower time frame as we can get. It's not what's going to validate a 1-minute entry. Well, we can see right here that we form SMT with then the previous 15-minute high. And again, while I'm not going in depth on time frame alignment, I'm giving you guys exactly the proper time frame alignment in every single one of these videos. 15-minute time frame here between the AM session and PM session highs. This time frame alignment is properly used on the 50-minute. NQ runs out the previous 50-minute high, while ES fails to. YM also fails to. that is what then validates us to drop down to a 1 minute time frame. And all I did at this point was simply enter off the next 1 minute CISD exactly as I did right here. Stop loss is protected at the AM session high. Why is that? Why at the AM session high compared to this high right here? Well, logically speaking, why would I need to save 1.5 points if I know that price, like literally, there's no reason for me to, for starters, there's no reason for me to try to skimp out on 1.5 points. We already have everything checked off. My normal risk is around 20-25 points. I'm only risking less than 7 points right now. I'm not going to care about a 1.5 point difference, mainly due to the fact that the only reason I'm entering this trade is due to the SMT at the highs right now. So the only way that the SMT at those highs is going to be invalidated is if NQ were to run out the AM session high, which that was my entire mindset. Now, why specifically did I enter right here compared to right off the initial CISD on the 1 minute? Only reason is because I did not drop down to the 1 minute until this moment. I only dropped down to the 1 minute right here. I'm like, oh, we already have the 1 minute CISD. We already have everything checked off. I entered there, boom, entered short. TP was at EQ the range, and well, that was it. Rest of PM session ended up accumulating for quite a bit, ultimately until we got to the last hour of the day, where PM session did actually end up selling off quite a bit. Now I did end up swinging this position into the next day. Why is that? Well, we got to think logically. Again, the whole basis of why we're swinging is because we need to have some sort of SMT attached to our current low week to seek further expansion higher. And well, finishing off this day while YM did aggressively manipulate lower, we never ended up putting in a new low week. And do we think logically that price is going to run up another 70 points higher or 83 points higher, put in new SMT after there's already 3-stage SMT at the highs? Do we think we're going to run 84 points higher and do that without running down 16 points lower? There's already 3 stages at the highs. There's no stage at the lows. We just got to think logically there. So that's why I was able to validate swinging. And fairly shortly after that, it was hit for the full TP. And that's ultimately what led us to my next position, which was that long. So right here, as you can see, took that long at 23141. Now, just for the sake of proof for everything, again, this is all taken on the exact same account. Posted my free alerts, everything that went into that. So your daily time frame, broke down the top-down analysis. As you can see, exact same account, exact same executions. So as we can see, I taken longs at low day. So why did I take longs there? Well, let's go back and study that day specifically. So on Tuesday, or is this Wednesday? I'm on the 5-minute time frame. Okay, so back here. So as you guys saw in the recording, I was initially on the daily time frame. Depends if you stopped the video and looked at that, but I was initially on the daily time frame. So for starters, daily time frame, what do we see? Well, we see unmitigated and busy below us initially going into this given Tuesday. So it's unmitigated daily busy below us. As we know, in a bullish trading market, if price is truly bullish and truly trending, we know that we don't want to see a dip into discount every single time. All we're focused on in a bullish trending market is higher time frame PDRA, lower time frame SMT. And what's convenient about this daily busy is the fact that that is right below our low of week. And well, what are we looking for below our low week? Why were we looking to short in the first place? It is because there is no SMT attached to the low of the week. As we can see right here, there was initially no SMT attached to low of the week. However, what we got was NQ manipulates beneath our low week. And what do we see? Well, all three of them manipulate beneath it. However, no SMT until you zoom in on a lower time frame. And as you can see right here, there's a huge divergence, huge uncorrelation between YM and NQ and EES. Some people might see this and think, we can't trade this. It's untradeable because they're so uncorrelated. No, uncorrelation is ultimately what leads us to our entries, to our trades. This is what we trade based off of. This uncorrelation is what leads us to take positions. As we can see right here, we had SMT with the previous 90-minute low, as I will mark out right here. So, as we can see, NQ, our YM clearly does not run out the previous 90-minute low. Again, just for reference, we have a new 90-minute. Oh, actually, I'm marking out the wrong low. New 90-minute opening at 9 a.m. So I should be marking out the low past 7:30. So right here, 7:35. As we can see very clearly, YM does not run out the previous 9-minute low, while NQ does, and so does ES, giving us SMT to previous 90-minute low. Specifically, while price is trading within that daily BISI, which that daily BISI was right here. So price is trading within that daily BISI. We have SMT to previous 9-minute low. From there, we can utilize the proper time frame alignment. As you guys know, with ICT's market maker model time frame alignment, we go from daily PD rate to the 1 hour time frame. And what do we see specifically on the 1 hour time frame? Well, there's more than I'm going to cover in this video, but all we need to take note of right now is the fact that here we have SMT with previous 1 hour low on top of the pre-existing previous 9-minute low SMT. So this ultimately acts as the same type of SMT. The point is that this is a more precise type of SMT. Specifically, we're formed relative to the range. So this is specifically within our daily BISI. Now, because obviously we can see back here that the SMT, the previous 9-minute low, we're holding that for quite some time. Issue is, what is actually going to confirm an entry on the lower time frame at this point? Well, that's going to be some sort of crack and collation with specifically within that daily BISI. As we can see, we form SMT with the previous 1 hour low while price is trading within that daily BISI. From there, we drop down to a lower time frame. And initially, I used a mix of, in a way, I used the improper time frame alignment, but ultimately just seeing the stacked cracks and correlations across multiple different time frames is ultimately what led me to take my position. So proper time frame alignment here would be daily, 1 hour, 5 minute, 1 minute. I used a mix of the daily, 1 hour. Keep in mind on the 4 hour as well, in terms of our 4 power 3. 4 hour power 3, we manipulate down, run the previous 4 hour low, fail to run it out on ES, on YM. So in the sense of our 4 power 3, this is giving us another clear bullish setup. But due to that, I was also able to validate dropping down to a 50-minute. Now, in review and hindsight, we really don't need to utilize the 4 hour, 50-minute, none of that. But nonetheless, in the moment when I was taking this position, seeing all these cracks and correlations across all these different time frames is ultimately what led me to drop down to the 1 minute time frame, which is ultimately what led me to take this 1 minute CISD entry. And that is literally all that went into that. Now, why did I swing trade it? Which is going to be the big question. Why did I swing trade it? Well, as you guys saw in the initial recording, this is initially what my position had looked like. Entry there, off the 1 minute CISD. TP was initially the 9M high. Reason being is because I was anticipating price to slowly trend higher going into PM session. So another classic AM session and PM session buy stop rate. Now, unfortunately, we ended up accumulating pretty much the entirety of the day. Due to that, I was like, okay, realistically speaking, are we actually going to seek out the AM session high after prices accumulating for however many hours, like 3 hours, 4 hours in a row? I was like, realistically not. So that's where then I had initially moved my TP to OTE of the range. Now, why specifically OTE of the range? Well, for no other reason aside from the fact that it perfectly aligns with this unmitigated 50-minute BISI all the way in premium. I'm like, okay, realistically speaking, that's a pretty favorable target. If price is going to seek out lower, it would make sense for us to completely rebalance this range, trade within OTE, mitigate these unmitigated SIBIs above us, and then continue lower. So it's like, logically speaking, we're probably going to trade into there before we continue lower. So that is why I changed that to my TP2. As you can see, I adjusted that after that screenshot, and then ultimately is what led us here. Now, unfortunately, very, very unfortunately, overnight I decided, screw it. If price is not going, so essentially this was my mindset. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to sleep right now. And for reference, that was all the way back here. It was like around, it was right before midnight. I'm like, dude, I'm going to bed at this point. I'm not going to stay up recording any longer. I'm going to bed. Realistically speaking, if price is truly bullish, if I truly caught the weekly manipulation, the low of the week, I'm just going to move my TP all the way back up to high day. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but as we can see overnight, what do? We hit OT of the range. Now, this was after I was thinking there's good chance that OT of the range is just not going to be hit at all, or it's just not going to hold the reaction at all. And I was proven very, very wrong. As we can see, we perfectly held OTE of the range and saw a massive drop lower. Now, that massive drop lower really is not an issue. The issue stems from the fact the decisions that I made afterwards. And that was when price had, there's a few issues with this. So I'd end up trailing my stop loss in profit just to this internal structure low. And unfortunately, as we can see, we wick that. We rate it by just a few points and end up reversing. As you guys saw, my position was at 23141. If I just kept it at break even like I normally do, we never would have hit that. Unfortunate is what it is. But my biggest mistakes was the decisions that I had made after that. So after getting broke even, I kind of went a little unlogical with my decision making afterwards. I was like, dude, why did we just sell off that aggressively at New York Open? Because keep in mind, at this point, we've been holding SMT with YM the entire morning. And logically speaking, I'm just stuck on why would we manipulate that aggressively if we're not going to run out the previous day low? Because it's like, why would we manipulate that aggressively, or why would we expand lower that aggressively if we're not just going to run out the pre-sale low from SMT to pre-sale low within that daily busy and then expand higher? Well, I'm kind of thinking that this is looking pretty similar to the exact same type of reversal that we had actually seen earlier this month. Like, this is textbook the exact same thing that we saw earlier this month. Thursday or Wednesday forms SMT with a Tuesday low. As we can see, overnight runs out all that low resistance liquidity below us. SMT with that Tuesday, Wednesday low. I'm pretty sure that's also within a daily busy. And I'm just kind of stuck on thinking that we're going to see exactly that. I think it was right. I think it was like right here. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday within the daily busy. I was thinking we're about to see the exact same thing for another week, because that's logically what market does often. And unfortunately, I taken a loss on that. What did I take it off of? Well, price return to premium of the daily range, as you can see right here. Price return to premium of the daily range within a 1 hour CIBI, premium 50-minute CIBI, and as we can see, after this was before, but initially when we did tap EQ of that range, we did form an SMT with the previous 1 hour high, SMT the previous 50-minute high, as we can see right here, and that allowed me to drop down to the 1 minute time frame, and I simply entered off the next 1 minute CISD, which was right here, this short right here. And well, just for the sake of quickly showing executions, actually I forgot, you can see my screen right here. Yeah, let's go over this. So took a short off that 1 minute CISD after price hit EQ the range, 1 hour CIBI, 50-minute CIBI, SMT previous 1 hour high, previous 50-minute high, 1 minute CISD. Then I was targeting the previous day low. Got stopped on that. I'm like, fair enough. Then Trump starts talking. He starts talking about tariffs with Europe, causing us to pump. Now I'm not going to go into the specifics of that, but unless it quickly shows. But he made a deal with Europe on tariffs, essentially bringing it down to 15%. Not going to go in detail on that. I'm not super educated on that, but in the most simple aspect, that is what initially caused us to pump. So I'm just thinking, okay, we're just getting aggressive manipulation before we continue lower. Then from there, entered off the next 1 minute CISD. Not going to go into the specifics on all of the confluences behind that trade, but in the most simple aspect, my mindset was, okay, that was just aggressive market manipulation. Now we're going to continue down to previously low. Obviously, was wrong. I probably managed my risk. I saw about 40 points in profit before ultimately, 43 points in profit before ultimately getting broken even. The only reason I went break even here and saved myself from a loss was simply due to the fact of how slow price was. After getting filled, we essentially just accumulated for an entire hour. If keep in mind, with my system, if I'm in the correct position, I want to see, or I need to see, or I just about always see in all my winning positions, we aggressively see price displace away after having that 1 minute CISD. My 1 minute CISD is entry confirmation. If I am in the correct position, we should immediately displace away. Since we did not, I moved my stop loss break even, and as we can see very clearly, I saved myself from a loss. Now, in summary, very unfortunate how things turned out. Had I simply kept my stop loss broken even instead of trilling it in profit, I more than likely would have never taken a short position to begin with and would have kept my winning streak for the month. But it's what it is. It's only a 25-point loss. My average win is about 80 points, 100 points, and that's the first loss of the month. So is what it is. We move on, but I'm just breaking everything down, trying to give you guys some more insight in regards to how I view the market, in regards to market maker models, Power 3, and all that. Now, I don't really have a good explanation as to why price would not run out the pre-sale low. In the most simple aspect, we simply targeted all this internal structure, low resistance liquidity. Once that was all rated, like it's no coincidence that we perfectly run out where my trail stop loss was at the end of the low resistance liquidity before we expand higher. The only reason this low was protected is because it was the low that we had initially formed SMT, the previous 9-minute low, the 4-hour, the 1-hour, the delivering out of the daily BISI. We can classify that as a protected low. Only in hindsight, in the moment, was not thinking that, but in review, so far with how we delivered, that's the only logical explanation that I have. So is what it is, but moving on to tomorrow. So hope you guys enjoy. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the comments below. Otherwise, join the server in my bio and feel free to ask in there.